Look at your eyes. Not a quick glance. Actually look, find a mirror, or open your front camera and really study the color sitting in that iris right now. Because here's what nobody tells you. The color of your eye is not random. It is not just a genetic lottery ticket. According to Carl Jung, one of the most brilliant minds in the entire history of psychology, your body carries psychological information that your conscious mind has never even accessed. Jung called this a collective unconscious, a deep reservoir of memory, instinct, and archetypal energy that every human being carries from the moment they are born. And within that reservoir, there are specific personality patterns, called archetypes, that show up not just in behavior, but potentially in biology itself. Now, science has begun catching up to what Jung was pointing at. Multiple peer-reviewed studies from universities across Europe and America have found statistically significant connections between eye color and specific personality traits. We're talking about dominance, empathy, reaction time, emotional depth, analytical thinking, all linked in measurable ways to the color of your iris. So in this video, we are going to go through 4 eye colors: brown, blue, golden, and black, and I'm going to tell you exactly what psychology says lies inside each one, and not just surface-level descriptions. We are going deep. Jungian archetypes, shadow psychology, the hidden fears, the secret strengths, the parts of yourself that you might not even have a name for yet. Stay until the end, because every eye color has a shadow side that most people never face. And facing yours today, that might be the most important thing you do this week. Let's begin. Asterisk, asterisk. Brown eyes. If this is your color, you are in the majority. Nearly 79% of the world's population has brown eyes, making it by far the most common eye color on the planet. And for most of their lives, brown-eyed people hear the same thing. Oh, you have brown eyes. Very common. But here's what is deeply ironic about that statement. Brown-eyed people are anything but ordinary. Let's start with what science actually says. A landmark study conducted by researchers at Charles University in Prague asked participants to rate face photographs for perceived personality traits. The result? Brown-eyed individuals were consistently rated as more dominant, assertive, and socially reliable than their lighter-eyed counterparts. But interestingly, and this is a fascinating part, the researchers found that it wasn't the brown color itself causing this perception. It was a facial structure that typically accompanies brown eyes. Wider faces, stronger jawlines, fuller lips, features that have been associated with social dominance across dozens of cultures for thousands of years. In other words, brown-eyed people have been shaped by evolution to appear powerful. And Carl Jung would tell us that this is not a coincidence. The archetype of brown eyes, the primal ancestor. When Jung developed his theory of archetypes, he identified patterns of energy that recur across all human cultures throughout all of human history. One of the most foundational is what he called the instinct archetype, the deep primal drive to survive, protect, provide, and build. This is the energy of the ancient warrior, the tribal elder, the man who builds fire in the middle of the night so his family doesn't freeze, the woman who plants seeds in spring knowing she won't see the harvest until fall. Brown-eyed individuals tend to carry this archetype most strongly. They are the people in your life who show up, not because it's convenient, but because showing up is simply who they are. They don't make loud promises. They make quiet commitments, and they keep them. Research in personality psychology has found that brown-eyed people score higher on conscientiousness and agreeableness on the Big Five personality model. These are the individuals who build institutions, maintain relationships over decades, and provide the emotional infrastructure of families and communities. They don't need to be the most exciting person in the room. They need to be trusted. And they are. The deep psychological strength of brown eyes. Brown-eyed people have an extraordinary ability to endure. Where others break under pressure, they compress. Like coal under heat, they don't shatter. They transform. This comes from a deep, unconscious connection to ancestral memory. Jung believed that every human being carries within them the psychological blueprint of every ancestor who survived long enough to pass on their genes. And brown eyes, the original human eye color, carry more of this ancient blueprint than any other. This means brown-eyed individuals often have an instinctive understanding of how to read a situation for hidden danger, how to remain calm when others panic, how to make decisions based on long-term survival rather than short-term comfort. They are not reckless. They are strategic, and they are patient in a way that the modern world rarely rewards, but desperately needs. The shadow side of brown eyes. Now, here's where Carl Jung would lean forward and say, this is the part that matters most. Every archetype is a shadow, and the shadow of the primal ancestor archetype is this, the secret terror of being forgotten. Brown-eyed individuals often carry a deep, unconscious fear that their ordinary reliability will make them invisible, that because they are the foundation, the ones who hold everything together, they will be taken for granted, overlooked, replaced. This shadow, when unexamined, can drive brown-eyed people to overwork themselves to prove their value, suppress their own emotional needs to maintain peace, hold resentment quietly for years until it erupts struggle with receiving care because they are so deeply conditioned to give it. If this resonates with you, and Jung would say the fact that it stings is a proof, then the work for you is not to become more productive or more reliable. The work for you is to learn that you are worthy of being cared for, not because of what you build or provide, but simply because you exist. Your eyes carry the wisdom of 10,000 years of human survival. That is not ordinary. That is ancient power. Asterisk, asterisk. Blue eyes. Here is a fact that will permanently change the way you see blue-eyed people. Every single person on Earth with blue eyes shares one common ancestor. Geneticists of the University of Copenhagen, led by Dr. Hans Eiberg, published research in 2008 confirming that blue-eye color resulted from a single genetic mutation, a specific change in the OCA2 gene, that occurred somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000 years ago. Before that mutation, every human being who had ever walked the earth had brown eyes. Blue eyes did not evolve gradually. They appeared, suddenly, unexpectedly, from the edges of human history. And perhaps that is exactly why blue-eyed people have always felt, on some level, like they are watching the world from a slight distance, like they arrived somewhere they were never quite meant to be, like they see things that others miss. The archetype of blue eyes, the seeker, in Jungian psychology, there's an archetype called the seeker, sometimes called the explorer or the wanderer. This is a part of the psyche that is never satisfied with the surface of things, that looks at the known world and feels an irresistible pull toward the unknown. Blue-eyed individuals tend to embody this archetype with extraordinary intensity. Multiple psychological studies have found that blue-eyed people score significantly higher on openness to experience, one of the core dimensions of personality, than individuals with darker eyes. They are drawn to ideas, systems, patterns, and possibilities that others haven't considered yet. They are your scientists, your philosophers, your artists who work in silence for years because they are pursuing something that cannot be explained in words. They are the ones standing at the edge of the mountain, not ready to jump, not afraid to jump, simply observing, calculating, understanding. The intellectual depth of blue eyes. Research from the United States and Scandinavia has consistently found that blue-eyed individuals demonstrate above-average performance in tasks requiring long-range strategic planning, abstract reasoning, and pattern recognition, sustained focus over extended periods of time, self-regulation of emotional responses under stress. This is not about intelligence in the traditional sense. This is about a particular quality of mind, the ability to sit with complexity, resist the urge for quick answers, and follow a thread of thought deep into territory where most people turn back. Jung described this quality as introverted intuition, the capacity to perceive the deeper structures beneath visible reality, to know things before you can explain how you know them, to sense outcomes before they materialize. If you have blue eyes, you have likely experienced this. The inexplicable certainty about a decision, the quiet knowing that turned out to be exactly right, the dream that felt more real than waking. You are not imagining it. You are receiving. The shadow side of blue eyes. And yet, the seeker's shadow is one of the most painful of all, because the very gift that allows blue-eyed people to perceive depth and complexity is the same gift that makes intimacy so difficult. When you see everything, when you feel the undercurrents of every room, every relationship, every situation, the natural response is to protect yourself, to retreat behind a wall of intellect, to analyze emotion rather than feel it, to observe life rather than fully participate in it. Blue-eyed individuals are far more likely to struggle with emotional unavailability disguised as self-sufficiency relationships that feel intellectually stimulating but emotionally hollow, a persistent sense of not being fully understood by anyone, loneliness that coexists with extraordinary social competence. The shadow work for blue eyes is not to think more clearly. You already do that better than almost anyone. The shadow work is to allow yourself to be seen. To let someone into the interior of your experience, not the edited version, not the analyzed version, but the raw, uncertain, feeling version. Because the seeker who can only explore the outer world is only half free. True freedom comes when you are willing to explore yourself. Golden eyes, amber eyes, hazel eyes. Let me describe something to you. You are standing in a forest just after sunrise. The light is coming through the trees at an angle, and depending on exactly where you stand, the same patch of ground looks completely different. Move 2 steps left and it's green. Move 2 steps right and it's gold. Look straight down and it's something else entirely. That is the experience of knowing someone with golden or hazel eyes. They are not what you think they are. They are not what they think they are. Because hazel eyes are the only eye color that actually changes, shifting between brown, green, and gold depending on light, mood, temperature, and the clothing they are wearing. And psychologically, this is not a metaphor. This is a map. The archetype of golden eyes, the trickster. Carl Jung identified the trickster archetype as one of the most psychologically complex and powerful patterns in the human psyche. Unlike the warrior or the sage, the trickster operates between categories, between rules, between identities. The trickster is not a liar. The trickster is someone who understands that every perspective is partial and that the whole truth lives in the space between all of them. Golden-eyed and hazel-eyed individuals are the living embodiment of this archetype. They can walk into a room and within 30 seconds have an almost supernatural read on every person present. The power dynamics, the unspoken tensions, the hidden desires. They absorb social and emotional information at a rate that others can barely comprehend. And then they adapt. Research consistently shows that hazel-eyed individuals demonstrate exceptional scores on both. Cognitive empathy, the ability to understand how another person is thinking, emotional intelligence, the ability to navigate complex emotional environments. This combination is extraordinarily rare. Most highly empathetic people are emotionally reactive. Most highly strategic thinkers are emotionally detached. Hazel-eyed people carry both simultaneously, and they know how to use them together. The fluid power of golden eyes. In relationships, golden-eyed people are magnetic. They are the person, the party that everyone wants to talk to, not because they dominate the conversation, but because they make every person feel specifically understood. They remember what you said 3 months ago. They ask the question that goes exactly to the heart of what you've been trying to say. They see you. In professional environments, they are exceptional negotiators, communicators, and leaders, not because they command, but because they understand everyone's position so deeply that they can find a solution that works for all parties. Jung would say they live close to the anima animus, the inner figure that bridges conscious and unconscious, masculine and feminine, known and unknown. This gives them access to both logic and intuition simultaneously, a kind of dual process of mind that most people don't have. The shadow side of golden eyes. But here's the cost of being everything to everyone. When your identity is naturally fluid, when you can genuinely become whoever a situation needs you to be, eventually the question arises, who am I when no one is watching? Golden-eyed individuals are among the most likely to experience chronic identity uncertainty despite apparent social confidence exhaustion from constantly reading and adapting to others' difficulty accessing their own needs because they are so focused on the needs of others, a private feeling of being a chameleon who have forgotten their original color. The trickster's shadow is not that they are fake. It's that they are so genuinely multiple, so authentically adaptable, that they lose contact with their own singular core. The shadow work for golden eyes is radical stillness, not performance, not reading the room, not adapting, just sitting with a question, what do I actually want? And being willing to disappoint everyone around you in the service of answering that question honestly. Because the trickster who finally stops playing games and speaks their truth, that is the most powerful version of themselves that will ever exist. Asterisk, asterisk. And finally, black eyes. Or more accurately, eyes so dark that the boundary between iris and pupil has essentially vanished. These are eyes that hold everything, that reveal nothing. And if you have them, or if you know someone who does, you already understand exactly what I mean. There is something about extremely dark-eyed individuals that creates a specific response in the people around them. Not fear exactly, not even or exactly, Something closer to the feeling you get standing at the edge of a very deep well, aware that something is down there, unable to see it, unwilling to look away. The archetype of black eyes, the sovereign. Carl Jung described the ruler archetype, sometimes called the king or queen, as a pattern of consciousness that carries the weight of responsibility, legacy, and order. This is not the warrior who fights. This is a sovereign who decides. The distinction matters enormously. Warriors act from courage. Sovereigns act from duty. Warriors fight to win. Sovereigns fight because the alternative is unacceptable. Warriors seek glory. Sovereigns seek continuity, survival and flourishing of what they are responsible for. Dark-eyed individuals carry this archetype with a heaviness that most people around them cannot fully understand. Scientific research supports this in compelling ways. Studies published in Personality and Individual Differences have found that dark-eyed individuals demonstrate significantly faster reaction times in high-pressure decision-making scenarios, higher pain tolerance, and physical resilience under stress, superior performance in competitive sports requiring strategic adaptation, greater capacity for what researchers call controlled aggression, the ability to channel intense emotion into precise action. These are not comfortable traits. These are survival traits. Ancient, refined, costly. The quiet power of dark eyes. Dark-eyed people do not seek the spotlight. But when a crisis arrives, when the room goes quiet and everyone looks around for someone to handle it, they are the ones who step forward. Not dramatically, not with grand speeches. They simply move. They assess. They act. People with very dark eyes tend to process their emotional world in private to a degree that others find almost impossible to understand. They do not process out loud. They do not journal. They do not talk through their feelings in real time. They go inward. They sit with the weight of whatever they are carrying, and they emerge hours, days, sometimes weeks later, with clarity that looks to others like they simply weren't bothered. They were bothered. They were devastated. Sometimes. They were breaking apart in the interior. But they do not show that, because showing it feels, to them, like a betrayal of their deepest identity. They are the ones who hold things together precisely by not letting anyone see them fall apart. The shadow side of dark eyes. And hey, in this exact place, lives a shadow that destroys more dark-eyed individuals than anything else in the external world. The sovereign shadow is the illusion of self-sufficiency, because a person who never shows weakness, never asks for help, and processes everything alone is not strong. They are isolated, and isolation is not a strategy. It is a slow erosion. Dark-eyed individuals are far more likely to experience burnout from carrying the emotional weight of everyone around them while receiving nothing in return. Relationships where they are chronically the capable one, the provider, the strong one, and secretly, desperately lonely. Health consequences of suppressed emotion that is never processed or released. A private grief about never being truly known by anyone, because they have never let anyone close enough to know them. The shadow work for dark eyes is the most counterintuitive of all. It is not to become stronger. You are already strong enough. It is to become vulnerable. To find one person, just one, and let them see the inside of your experience. Not the managed, composed version, the actual version, because a sovereign who can only rule, who can only carry, will eventually collapse under a weight that was never meant to be carried alone. And a world that loses its sovereigns loses its ability to endure. Your darkness is not your weakness. It is your depth. Let someone in. So, which eye color are you? And more importantly, which shadow did you recognize in yourself? Because that recognition, that moment of slight discomfort, that feeling of how did this video know that is not coincidence. That is Carl Jung's core insight in action. The unconscious speaks through every part of us, through our behaviors, through our choices, through the color of light that lives in our eyes. You are not a random collection of traits. You are a specific, unrepeatable pattern of consciousness, shaped by genetics, by ancestry, by millions of years of human experience, and it is all sitting right there in the iris of your eye. Now you know what it's been trying to tell you. If this video helped you see yourself a little more clearly, that is exactly why this channel exists. Subscribe to the Spectrum Mind, because every single video here is designed to be a mirror. And drop your eye color in the comments right now, along with whether your shadow description felt accurate. I read every comment. I will respond. I'll see you in the next one. ****